I think brands give, people hope to go win the game. Whether it's the cash flow game, the real estate game, the restaurant game, it's all a game.
When you're done with school, why do people stop learning?
Yeah, why do we have to learn but you don't have to?
And the whole room just went quiet.
I think it gets back to brand. Your brand can attract the right people, and that's when you know it's real.
Generation Wealth.
Jeff, thanks for coming in.
Hey, you're welcome. I mean, it was easy. I'm just down the street.
I know, it's crazy. So I got to tell the story how we met because it is pretty crazy. So I'm a part of Forward Mastermind with Neil Dingra. And Neil actually said, hey, there's this guy coming in, and I think he lives like in La Jolla part-time, but you should definitely like talk to him and connect. I said, okay. So I see you get up there, and I'm sitting here in the front, and then you have this display of all your brands, and I look down and I literally had to rub my eyes and go, does that say Vibe Flow? And I was like, and all of a sudden I'm like, is this the guy that invested with Billy?
My uncle.
Yeah, her uncle. And I'm like, and you're starting to talk, and I'm sitting there taking a picture of you texting Billy, and he's like, oh my gosh. So anyways, I went up to you and I said, I'm going to mention the name Billy Borgia. And you're like, how do you know Billy? And then it was like a whole weird meant to be thing. And
Billy didn't tell me the whole story, but he was at our house we had like them over for
like right before that, a month, when you guys were just kind of like, okay, let's
I'm starting to get goosebumps, but keep going.
Yeah. But the crazy thing to me is then Billy, just briefly, he didn't really go in depth, but he's like, yeah, I met Jeff through LinkedIn. He messaged me on LinkedIn. So for me, I was just like light bulb moment, because I think so many people in our industry or entrepreneurs, they're not doing a lot of outreach. And so to see a guy that's had as much success as you do something as simple and basic as reaching out to someone on LinkedIn, and that's how now you guys are doing stuff together, you're working together, partnered on things. That's amazing.
Yeah, there's little bits to this story. First of all, when you approach me, I'm like, another tall guy in the room. It's like, what's going on? And you mentioned Billy, and like, look, it's called connecting the dots.
Yeah.
And like we're starting to connect the dots right now. But, I've been obsessed with vibration, because, and there's another story there, but when you vibrate, I think we're all human balls of energy, and you drink a little caffeine, we'll talk about that, you have exponential energy. And so I gave myself the title of Chief Vibe Officer within my companies, because having like CEO or president, it's just boring. Everyone has that. So if you want to be apart from the crowd, you can either be a part of the crowd or apart from the crowd. And I like to be apart from the crowd while still being in the crowd. So you give yourself something original, which gets into branding, Chief Vibe Officer, and it leads into vibration, which leads into Billy Borgia that founded Vibe Flow, the studio, a boutique fitness studio. I was like, I wanted to take the class because it's here in San Diego. We spent our summers in San Diego. And, come to find out, during COVID, boutique fitness wasn't what it was, so we had to shut it down. And I'm like, now I got to find the guy. So you mentioned LinkedIn. I got obsessed, and I'm like, I started hammering every DM I could find on this guy, Facebook, whatever. And within an hour, I think I got a call back, and I said, I want to meet with you. That night, we met at our house, and we started talking about, vibration. And next thing, I realized that he did something amazing. He had everything fully branded. He's in vibration, boutique. He's a fitness expert. He's got alliteration in his name. I'm like, this is too good to be true. And I said, I can help here. I wasn't thinking about like investing or resurrecting Vibe Flow, but one thing led to another, and now we're partners. And it's just, it's funny how the world works, but I was obsessed about vibration. And then you mentioned connecting on LinkedIn. If you want something bad enough, you have to go after it. And now I'm in the vibration business, so we'll see where it goes.
That's pretty awesome. And then also what was cool is I know your story's pretty crazy, but I got to hear it. But I want you to kind of tell how you kind of got here today, because it is pretty fascinating. It's kind of a whirlwind of a story.
I don't know. I'm an SOB, son of a bar owner. My father, my father was an attorney. I couldn't get into law school. I took the LSAT 4 times. I hired like the Kaplan course, private tutors, studied, and every time I took the LSAT, the entrance exam to law school, I bombed it. A monkey blindfolded could do better on a standardized test than I can. So, my GPA from Michigan State wasn't anything to brag about. My best friend, his GPA was like 2.7, and he ran Whole Foods for 20 years. So it's not about your grade point average. I think it's about what's in you. And my father was an entrepreneur who was a lawyer that had, he got to California, and next thing you know, we're building a skateboard track because we had concrete businesses and, just other franchises, and he had nightclubs. But I'm I'm an SOB, a son of a bar owner that, during my summers, I bartended for my father, learned the business by being around him. And you guys are into real estate big time. I'll talk about what I feel is the best piece of real estate, but that's kind of where it started. I started with a lemonade stand, like most kids at 11, and the journey's just been progressive all the way up to where I am now. So I found coffee along the way too.
I love to hear, like, one of the things I like to hear about is the struggle. We were talking about this a little bit before we started recording, but one of the things I feel like people always, when you meet someone that's where you're at today, for example, they go, oh, like Jeff makes it look so easy. Like, oh, he was just probably, he got money from his parents, or somebody took care of him, or he just got lucky. And the thing is, they didn't see you when you were eating shit, like, for so many years, and all the failures and the disappointments and whatever, people lying or stealing or cheating or whatever the things that happen, all these things that happen.
All these things happen. Like,
we live in a now. I want a now generation.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like,
but that's part of the journey. I always said life's like a roller coaster, and you have to enjoy the ups and downs. When you're up, everything seems good, and there's fast money and fast friends. When you're down, it's like you wonder who your friends are. And I've been, I think I've been fortunate to be down. And I was down at one time. I thought that, I made it big. I had a company called Genghis Grill. And, I met my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. We were looking at fancy homes and nice cars, and I thought, like, I hit the lottery, because we were ramping up this thing called Genghis Grill, the Mongolian barbecue. We had 12 stores open, another 35 in development, and it's just like, this thing's going to take off. And I'll never forget, I was, I started hiring, building an office, and I'm like, and I'm in my late 20s, and I'm like, I'm thinking, life's really good. And then I'll never forget, I was in Chicago accepting an award, and it was for, like, the fastest growing restaurant company. I'm like, damn, this is pretty cool. But in my pocket, my cell phone kept going off while I was on stage, and it was my controller calling. And I kept just, you put it in a voicemail, After I got off stage, I went into the hallway, and she was hammering me. So I called her back, and she's like, Jeff, you got to get home. I'm like, why? She goes, we can't make payroll. And here I am on top of the world,
what?
really, like, winning awards, growth company, the girl of my dreams, and the shoe just dropped. And I'm like, what do you mean we can't make payroll? I'm like, there's cash in the shoe. We found it. I'm like, in my desk drawer, there's a credit card. Use it. We've already used it. You're tapped out. I get home to Dallas, and there are literally 4 piles on the conference table. Bills that are 30 days out, 60 days, 90, 120, and then plus. Literally millions of dollars in debt here, because I basically turned over the company to professional management, and I'm like, what do I know about running a company? So you found out real quick that we went from, a lot of money in the bank to upside down. Yeah. Upside down with millions of dollars on your back. And that's a heavy load, especially when you're not used to it. So, it's what you learn about that is when you have money, it's abundant. You can get lending, and, you're a safe bet. When you don't have it, it's scarce. And I didn't have it then. And I was like, your family kind of shies away from you. Your friends shy away from you. My girlfriend, Courtney, at the time, I'm like, you should probably leave, okay? Because I don't know how bad this is going to get. You have an option. My dog, Genghis, who was a white lab, I'm like, he didn't have a choice. He had to stay. Yeah. But I would cry myself to sleep with my dog, literally spooning him. It got so bad, and I'll say this, that, I went to the bathroom, and it was red blood. I mean, it was eating me up alive. So you talk about the roller coaster ride. It's real. And along an entrepreneurial journey, you're going to have your ups and downs. Now, those times is like, what can you learn from there? It's like, because you find out who your friends are, who support. My wife now, she was there. She was like bringing me peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Like, you did it once, you can do it again. Brush yourself off and go for it. And I started a new company called Genghis Grill, and I took those life lessons and put them in Genghis Grill, I started Which Wich, and I put those lessons from Genghis Grill, and, it was a little different. So you just learn lessons along the way, and that's part of the journey, the learning.
So thinking back on that, because I think there's a lot of people, especially in our industry in real estate right now, they are suffering. There's no business. The phones aren't ringing anymore like they used to a few years ago.
That market's
They're
terrible,
learning a lot,
right? Like,
yeah, we're learning a lot of hard lessons too. Like, you're learning from your failures, right? The things that, the gravy train's been going on for like a decade now.
Yeah,
so
that can condition you like, oh.
Yes.
You have to be around to see the cycles.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what did that failure or that hardship, that time, what did that teach you going into your next venture, which was Which Wich?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you have yourself and your values and what you stand for. And, I've been fortunate to, I kind of study history, although if you ask me what I did yesterday, I probably can't tell you because I'm so forward looking. But, history leaves clues. Like this real estate boom has been going on. Sooner or later, the music stops. And now you mentioned like the debt market or whatever. It's terrible. I don't know if it's terrible. It's just different.
Yes.
You know, but by the way, the game's still being played.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's high tide or low tide, you know, people are finding a way to enjoy the water. So I think it's just your perspective. And there's going to be a lot of people that do extremely well during recessions, depressions, pullbacks. And there's going to be a lot of people that are like saying that this sucks. And you know what the difference is? They're both right. Yeah. The people that say it sucks, they're right. And the people that are, you know, say embracing it, saying this is just a cycle, there's a playbook. There's people that have played this cycle before. Let's learn from them. So I think that's what, you know, history teaches you, cycles, clues. And if you're smart enough to pay attention to it, I think you can do well at whatever the, you know, the circumstances are in the environment.
I think for a lot of people too, it's, you know, we always say real estate's probably like the easiest, you know, you pass your test and you're like, I'm in business.
Yeah.
It's the, what do you call it, Crystal? The lowest level, entry level business pretty much out there.
Yeah, well, there's like the lowest barrier
It costs
to
you
entry
like
in real estate.
$800 to get your license.
And you don't need a college degree. You don't need anything.
And so I think a lot of people in real estate, but then in general, it's just like easier. Let's just go, you know? And you built this business. What's the simple formula? I mean, right? There's got to be like, how do you go from down and out to build this company? But in between there's all this pain, but like, what is the simple formula that's just for you to get a business off? Like you're starting a new business, the one right here or anything with Billy. What is the simple formula now that you know that is when you take a business and get it going?
Well, from what I know, I love branding. And we talked about our children, we both have daughters. They share the same initial. Okay. Yeah. So do you save on monogramming down the road?
Yeah.
I don't, you know, it's like, you know, so I'm into naming, branding. And sometimes this is the chicken or the egg. Like we do a lot of restaurants, and do you find the real estate first and then put a brand in there and create a brand, or do you have a brand and then find it? So it's like, you know, I've been around long enough to do a little bit of both, but I like business is like, and we can talk about this because we have children. It's like giving birth to a child. Okay, first of all, you better be prepared. Okay, yeah. And you know, you shouldn't be reckless about it. You know, 'cause it's sometimes it just happens. You fall into business, and sometimes you plan your business. And if you plan it right, you can be successful. You know, because it involves financing. You know, it's like, do we have a place for the baby to sleep? You know, is that the lease location or the real estate we're going to put the business into? You know, so it's all what I know about it. Let's start with brand. Okay, let's start with the name. Name the baby. You know, sometimes you don't know what the baby is going to be called until it comes out of the womb. You know, like my parents, when they originally named me Damon, and then 3 days later they changed it to Jeffrey. So the name can change, but once you name something, you kind of stick with it. But so, you know, I'm always wearing a brand. Because I believe that we're pros, and pros wear brands. If you look at military or professional sports, they are always in their brand because they get paid to wear the brand. So I start there. You know, we met at you know, a little mastermind conference, and I looked around the room, and there's very few people wearing their brand. I get an opportunity to sell all day long.
One of them wearing the damn brand.
You know, like I'm not trying to sell you on Supernova right now, but it's here because it's part of the game that I play. Everything that I do is kind of lifestyle, because why do it? You know, it's like, if you don't believe in something that you're doing, whether you're making the baby or starting your business, don't do it. I mean, life's too short. So you asked me what I know. I've like, you know, a little bit about branding, entrepreneurship, taking risks, but I've got some things that I believe if it wants to grow, it will. If you force it to grow, sometimes that's like the wrong reasons. Whether you're in a personal relationship, you know, prior to Courtney, I've been in relationships and I kind of forced them for the wrong reasons. And I've been in the most natural, fun, loving marriage for like relationship for over 20 years now. And it's easy because you don't force it. It's mutual. And I kind of go where the positivity flows, because there's two choices. You can go towards negativity or positivity. I gravitate towards positive vibes. So branding, positive vibes, a little alliteration, naming, you know, that's kind of like my world where I exist.
Yeah, I asked, because in real estate, a lot of people, whether they're a syndicator, wholesaler, you know, loan officer, agent, a lot of people are like, why do I need to have a brand? Especially like if you're a real estate investor. So I actually asked Grant Cardone, I was like, you have this massive brand. Does it make a difference in buying deals? He says, I had one guy that was in Florida. The guy's like, he's on social media, some old, you know, big commercial guy's like, he's not going to buy my building. I don't like that guy. He goes, besides that, I've gotten 15 other deals because of my brand. So to him, of course brand matters. It's get you in front of more people and all that. So I would ask you the same question as a lot of people listening is, why is it so important not only just to have a brand, but like maybe have a meaning behind the brand? Like when you look at a brand and you're developing a brand, like how do you come up with this concept?
Yeah, I guess, you're going to ask me to do something that's one of the hardest things to do is think. It's like, I mean, like, why? So if I think about it, and by the way, thinking's really, really hard, because most people just say what's top of mind. But brands really can be internal that goes to external. Like right now I'm developing Supernova. It's internal in me that I want to make people perform better through our products and feel better. I mean, because like who doesn't? I do. If you don't get enough sleep, stay in bed. I want you to perform and feel better. So when you have a brand, you have the opportunity to colorize it, put the values in it, what you believe. And now, if you do it and it's authentic, I believe you can attract other people to come be part of that brand, whether they're customers or team members. The brand becomes a magnet to attract talent, to attract deals. And now people can trust it. If you build the brand right, they trust that you're going to get consistency and continuity because they see the logo, the sign, and now the people behind it. It all ladders up. If you're going to build something, that's why you go to Dallas Cowboy Stadium, like more than half the people are wearing jerseys that say Dallas Cowboys. They love it. They believe in it. Look, and the Dallas Cowboys haven't won like in 20 years. And they're still like, they're hopeful. So
my partner's a diehard Cowboys fan, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
every year it's like, yeah,
we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it.
It's like the Chargers.
And I think brands give people hope to go win the game. And look, whether it's the cash flow game, the real estate game, the restaurant game, it's all a game. And if you're gonna play the game, wear the jersey.
Yeah.
And the jersey's the brand.
I thought it was pretty cool when you were at the event. You said, "Who's wearing a brand here?" There's like 5 people raise their hand, and you're like, "I was like, yeah." I think people are like, I remember when you left, people were like, "Man, that's not good. I should be." I'm like, "Why would you not?"
Yeah,
you have that opportunity. Like people go, "Why do you wear a?" I have different things. But why do you wear a shirt that says "Real Estate Hustle"? Because you're going to ask me about real estate. They're like, "Oh."
Yeah, I was going back to our pictures. You had the hat on.
Yeah.
So the look, I'm kind of obsessed and a little bit overboard in how I brand. I like to say, socks and underwear are optional, but you should wear your brand. Then you drive the brand, and then you eat the brand. Why would you want to do someone else's brand? Because you're supporting them when you have the opportunity to support yourself and the people around you to build your livelihood.
And it seems like from everything I've noticed so far too, that all of the brands that you own or invested in part of are things that you're just passionate about already. Like I can tell you're passionate about fitness, kind of like longevity, health, all of that kind of stuff. And it seems like all your business
thing here, I wrote
space.
Business and lifestyle, and maybe you don't see that way, but I kind of, when I saw you and I read about you and I, watched some of your stuff and I see this, it's like, I just get, you're like a business guy, but you also have you have a lifestyle. Yeah. Like you're here in La Jolla, I know you're in Dallas, and you built this lifestyle around business. It's like, I feel like it's both. It's not just like all in business, it's about a lifestyle too. That's just the way I look at you, whether it's wrong or right.
Well, we have one life to live. So, and by the way, we have to design our own lives and what we get to do and where we get to do and who we get to do it. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah. I was so stoked. I went to bed last night. I'm like, I don't know where this is going to go, but I was like excited. I woke up this morning. I'm like, I got up early, and I did my, my rituals, one of them, brush my teeth, but then I started cold plunging every morning, and everything they say about cold plunging is true. It's like you don't want to go in there, but you do it, and you feel so good after. I feel like this blue tingly thing, and then I turn on my espresso maker, make my coffee, and I take my coffee and I go on my power plate and I vibrate, and I'm like, I'm so jazzed to be here. And I was like,
that's awesome.
And then we went to the wrong place as we were coming here. It was like we addressed it early, and I knock on the door and it wasn't you guys. So I'm like, all right, we're going to find them. We're going to do this. But it's like, look, I'm just thankful to, do this and meet new people and go forward. Because it's a choice. We had a choice to stay in bed today. We didn't. And we're here. And hopefully we can throw some value to whoever's going to listen or see this. And I think that's what it's about right now. When I turned 50, I said I want to have partners because I've been a sole practitioner. And now I've got partners with Billy, in VibeFlow. We've got another company called Earthburger that we have partners in. And I'm hungry for partners because I know what I can do by myself, but what can I do exponentially with other people? So that's where I'm hopeful, saying, putting it out there in the universe. And that's why we have this thing called the Preneur Fund, because I took, some of the money that I made, put it in a fund, and we invest in entrepreneurs, because deep down inside, I'm an entrepreneur. And whether it's a grant, a gift, mentoring, capital, we're looking for the right deals that we're passionate about, to find passionate entrepreneurs so I can take everything that I know, my network, our resources, and help. And I don't want to have all of it. I want to have a role in all of it for the betterment and the game.
Yeah, I mean, just I know hearing from Billy was like, man, he has like a world-class team. And I mean, when I reached out to your marketing lady and we were like, she texted me and we were chatting, we just, had some stuff, and I was like, they're on it. And even one of my ladies like, hey, I didn't hear back from her. I'm like, oh, she emailed you back. She did. She emailed you back like right away. You just missed it that fast. She goes, oh, okay. Which is good. I mean, so another thing is I think for a lot of business owners, it's the team behind you, right? It's like you're one person, but there's got to be this team. Can you kind of talk about for a lot of us, I think hiring the right people is a struggle. It's, I think, for any of us in business, and also and then
culture. I mean, everybody talks about the culture.
Yeah,
and
I feel like
it's
a struggle for a lot of people.
Like you said, you have to think.
Yeah, if you by the way, if you think it's a struggle, you're probably right.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a struggle. I'll never forget, and we did a little vignette on this. One time, someone walked into my office, and it was an interview, and she said she can talk to, I forget if it was apes, monkeys, or primates, and I'm like, that's amazing. You're hired. I mean, it's like, it's like you have a trait that at one time I thought I could talk to my dog, it's like, but, so I thought that was interesting. And, she had a great run. Now we're still friends. And, it's, I think it gets back to brand. Your brand can attract the right people. And that's when it's real, because anyone can spray and pray. You can run ads and, hopefully someone that maybe shows up nowadays, because look, the game of employment has changed, especially for, entry level, which we have a lot of brands and, restaurants is it's their first job, and they're ghosting, they're not even showing up. So it's it's a struggle. The struggle is real, but it's part of the game where we're at right now. You just have to adjust and figure out how to play it.
Yeah.
And by the way, put it out there in the universe. Let people know that you're hiring, you're looking, because if they don't know, how are they going to know? Do you think they have ESP or just extrasensory powers? We have one of the greatest brands right here that I've been incubating. Now it's time to let the world know that you can eat just 2-ingredient protein chips. It's basically beef or chicken and salt. And coffee's one ingredient, but there's so much more to the story, but let people know.
I want to get into, I do want to get into your brands, just to kind of go through. So whatever one you want to talk about, the Which Wich, I think everybody's heard of that. We've eaten there. But the one thing that was fascinating to me about it was the technology that you're doing. I just wanted you to kind of mention that, because everybody knows, I think, what Which Wich is. They probably eaten there. But the technology that you were showing us, I was like, holy smokes.
So during COVID, I had an experience at a Dunkin' Donuts. And Which Wich has been known, we're going to turn 20 years old this year, for writing your sandwich on a paper bag. And, it's like check marks, you write your name. And it's very Dale Carnegie, we call you by your name. But we get this customized sandwich. Well, I was at Dunkin' Donuts with my family. We were just in another family, and it was right in the middle of COVID. And you had to walk in to order, you could eat outside. So, and they were limiting the people that could go inside. And I walked up to the counter ordering for my family, our kids. One wants the new pink donut, the new Charlie Instagram shake or whatever.
That's very familiar.
It was chaos. And then I had the other family. My wife wants 2 teas, and she has her order, and then I'm drinking someone else's brand. I get conflicted. So, but I walk in there. By the way, Dunkin' Donuts, you have the alliteration, the D and the D. How we name companies: Which Wich, WW, Genghis Grill, Story Sinelli, Sky Sinelli, naming. Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck. I walk in, there's this big piece of plexiglass. I'm wearing a mask. The Dunkin' Donuts team member that was taking my order, she's wearing a mask. She has glasses, she has a visor, and she has a headset on because she's also working the drive-thru. I'm trying to talk through this big piece of plexiglass through masks, and I'm kind of going around the plexiglass, and half of her hearing's off because one's headset, one's open. And when I got the order, it was half wrong and half missing. And it was a head scratcher, because now, okay, we understand what's going on during the pandemic, but I said there has to be a better way. So I went right back to the office and became obsessed with how are we going to figure this out. And I just, look, I'm old enough to remember this cartoon called The Jetsons.
Yep.
Okay.
I love the Jetsons.
Yeah. It's like we were going to call this project Astro because I love dogs, but we ended up calling it Yellow Lab. Okay. Yellow's been a good color to us, laboratory, but the Jetsons were talking to screens. They were ordering. And I said, we can do this, and we just started, sketching. And I said, I'm on a Zoom call. We're talking to screens anyways. It's become now socially acceptable. Most of our meetings in our businesses are through Zoom. Very rarely, like office space, you guys have an office here, but it's like offices are shrinking. You need less office because we're so mobile. Thank you, Steve Jobs, and, our communication devices, but we're talking screens. So getting back to Yellow Lab and the solution really wasn't for Which Wich. It was a solution that I'm like, we can now talk face to face via a screen. And by the way, during COVID, I talked to people on Zooms, and after COVID, I met them. I felt like I actually met them. And I'm like, you're taller than I thought. Like, have we met before? Yeah. So it's really a weird dynamic that it's so real. But so Yellow Lab is basically putting our cashiers or customer service agents in the cloud, using video screens, using the point of sale software to now walk into a store where we reduce the labor because we put it in the cloud, and now we can manage multiple stores through just, you walk up there and says, hi, welcome to Which Wich, and someone appears and they take your order, and now the stores really become production factories.
Wow.
And but here's the good thing. We're not wearing masks because they're either working in the call center or they're at home, so they're in a safe environment. And we can now see facial gestures with, our mouths and our smiles. We're not wearing headsets. And it's just, we took away some of the barriers, leveraging technology to create a company that, we have it in 2 brands right now. We're looking to, put it in American Airlines, Universal Studios, but it's called Yellow Lab, and it's putting cashiers in clouds or customer service.
So smart.
But it's, I feel like it's still a little ahead of its time. And that's kind of where I play. But I was obsessed about it. And you just figure it out. And if you solve problems in business, you probably can have a lot of business. So
what's your feedback on that so far with your brands?
We love it. The customers, at first, I love to put a little tripping thing in any brand that we build. And it's like, this is awkward. How do I use it? Like at Which Wich, you had to use a bag. At Genghis Grill, you had to put raw meat in there. I call it a hurdle. At, when you walk into a Yellow Lab, kiosk, it's like, this is new. I haven't seen this before. So, but then after they see it and use it, if it's somewhat intuitive, they're like, this is easy. There's no different than talking to a real person. But here's one thing that we found, and I knew that this thing has a chance. After they ate their sandwich, on the way out, they stopped by the kiosk to say goodbye to the operator.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh my God.
I'm like, talk about
that's crazy.
Building a brand, a relationship,
you never
full
even thought
circle.
about that.
No, I was like, they wanted to say goodbye. So I'm like, this is like, we're human. So one of the brand things for Yellow Lab is, bringing more humans into technology, because as we develop technology, it's kind of sans human without humans.
Yeah. You don't want an AI robot to take the order.
Well, they're there too, and that's going to be a whole nother experience. So,
do you feel like the customer, my friend, it was a long time ago when Jack in the Box was trying this out. He worked for the company that was doing it when they used the first Jack in the Box. They factored that somebody would spend 15 to 20% more when they ordered by themselves. And I go, why is that? He goes, well, it's kind of funny. When you go up to the counter, they look up and go, man, a milkshake would be good, but I'm kind of feel guilty to order it. Just the cashier, he might look at me like, why you don't need a milkshake? But if I'm over here and you're not looking, I just click milkshake and you just say it's done. I can grab it and walk away. So they figured people ordered more of stuff they wouldn't order in front of somebody. I don't know.
I mean, you have a more focused salesperson in front of you. They're not having to clean the restaurant, wipe down tables, go back, and they're always there. So they can be real scripted, strategic. And now you can use technology. Like if I'm the Yellow Lab agent and you're like, I'm thinking about a milkshake, I can hit a button and a milkshake graphic pulls on, my green screen behind me. And now like, oh, that looks interesting. So, you can use we can use technology for avatars and that's where I think we really have a shot to do. Like you can walk into restaurants and you can have like Tom Cruise wait on you.
Yeah.
Because we can take his avatar through voice and everything.
Yeah.
Or licensing with Disney, and we can have,
any character, Disney princess, whatever.
For our daughters, they can walk in and see Cinderella. So it's like, it's great what technology can do, but it's just one of we've got a few businesses, and that's one of the things I ask myself, would I be better off with just one and highly focused, or multiple? And there's case studies for both. Like Richard Branson has a lot of different Virgin properties, and some people are real successful with one, and other people I think I need a lot of stimuli around me. And so I'm dabbling in real estate too, and you guys are all about real estate.
Yeah.
What's interesting that you're saying too is one of the common themes that I've heard around a lot of successful entrepreneurs too, is just like, think about things that can elevate your business that you can also turn into a business. So Yellow Lab is a really good example, because now you get to test it in your locations. It's useful to your business, and then now you can go prove the model to all these other, you know, whatever, Disney or whoever that could integrate this into their business.
And being locked down, but we were always saying is what business would come out of COVID.
Yeah.
Like being locked down and you having experience made you go, light bulb. Like,
but also, if it takes you time from developing that technology, it's okay, because you utilize it in your businesses. And if it takes time to take off, like, for example, I think about all these businesses. It seems like all of a sudden somebody just flipped a switch and Uber was like the thing, right? But Uber struggled along for so many years to gain traction, because people are like, I don't want to get in a stranger's vehicle. Like, who would do that? I don't just get in any stranger's car, but now we get in stranger's car all the time.
Yeah, now you don't want to get into a taxi cab, because it's like, you know, the,
right.
the,
how long
model
did that
shift.
take? That took a long time, many, many years.
Yeah. It Uber wasn't just like up. What goes up fast usually goes down fast. Uber was like a nice. I remember, you know, seeing the little black dots move on the screen, and you know, it wasn't even in Dallas yet. It was still in San Francisco, and so you know, these things take time. But you know, one of the things I'm thinking about as we're talking here is like, a lot of people start businesses for the money and the exit. I'm not a good exiter yet, because I just like, I'm in flow, and I just love doing the things that I do to solve problems. Or, you know, I found caffeine, I started a coffee company. I guess I'm just in flow, and then I become obsessed and highly curious and how I can do it better or do it my way.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I do agree. A lot of people are starting companies to like start it, get it up, and exit it and move on. And it's like, and then it's funny, because in real estate you can do that, but also we have gotten the older we gotten, the more I'm like, I like cash flowing businesses, because cash flow really is king.
Yeah.
Like, it just kind of like you said is, you know, we've been saying this, you're in a real estate market, it's down, and a lot of people that made a lot of money, that bought the houses and the cars, and they didn't save or buy any investment properties, are like, but if you have cash flow, it's like, it's coming. So you're more of a, especially with Which Wich, it's now just a cash flowing business. So
yeah,
it gives other opportunities.
Yeah, we create brands that create royalties. But here's like, I'll tell a real estate story, because I know you guys are real estate, and I just want to share, like, my dad gave me the opportunity. I saved some money, and he allowed me to put a pool table in one of his nightclubs. And I'm like, it was scary, because I had to buy the pool table, I had to get the chalk and the sticks, and you know, set it up, and you know, then you know, every couple days I had to go get the coins, you know, out of it. I think it was the lesson that I learned through it. Thanks, Dad. But it was a 6 by 3 foot or 6 by 4, 24 square feet of real estate. You know, it was green grass. You know, it was a pool table.
Funny, yeah.
But what I learned about it, and you talk about cash flow, is that it gave me a mindset that I didn't have to be there, okay? And I was making money while I slept. And I said, if you can achieve that.
Warren Buffett's famous quote.
Oh, is it? Yeah, just like.
If you can find a way to make money while you sleep.
Yeah, and that pool table, I'm sitting there, and while I'm sleeping, people are, you know, playing pool. And I'm like, I just kind of took that as like, you know, you can generate money without being there. And real estate gives you that opportunity, because in the pool tables are almost indestructible. Every year or so you have to refelt it. And, you know, if pool sticks break, there's repair and maintenance that you have to do on properties when you own them.
Yeah.
But for the most part, real estate is like that, because you still have your asset of a pool table, and it generates cash flow, and it also does it 24/7. Well, depending on when the business is open, but it's that's why I love the game of real estate and the cash flow, because whether it's a pool table or a property, you can make money while you sleep.
Yeah. And
I love that.
He also says, that's funny you said, then he said, because you're mentioning like you collect coins, he goes, what would be your favorite business? He goes, a toll booth. Why? He's like, it just keeps coming. It's like the traffic. It's like, it's pretty simple.
Toll roads are great. Yeah. But now they're electronic. So it's like, but I'm kind of old school. I still like to carry a little cash.
So I know you're super fired up about Supernova. So I heard this story before, how you got the name, how you got this Supernova. If you could share that story, it's pretty, or if you want to start from here, but the Supernova story is pretty cool. Like,
well, we talked about like how I start businesses, naming, and I struggled for almost 2 years, because I found coffee, you know, when I was in my mid 40s, and I never drank coffee, and you don't drink coffee.
Yeah.
And when I had it, I took my buddy, we were traveling international, we had a layover, and he said, have a coffee. I was like, no way. My mom drank it. It was dirty. It was grounds. It was like, it didn't smell good.
Tastes like dirt. How do you know
That's
dirt
what I say.
tastes
I'm just being honest.
He goes, well, shoot a shot of espresso. I'm like, a shot? I could do that. boom, I hit that thing. And like within a minute, like I had this weird, clear energy. Like they talk about brain fog and, the nootropic effects of caffeine. I'm like, give me another. 'Cause if I feel this good, I can feel twice as good. He goes, well, take it easy.
We've been working on this for the past few months. We always want to bring as much value as we possibly can. And our partner, Prime Corporate Services, is all about bringing you a service you can't get anywhere else at a price you can't get anywhere else. Whether you're new to owning a business or owning a property, or you're an experienced property owner or investor, Prime Corporate Services is not only going to help you, but they're going to make the process so much easier. So if you book a call, the first thing they're going to do for you is help you understand what your business structure should look like, your corporate structure, tax planning, estate planning, all of that. Maybe you're saying, I'm brand new to starting a business and all this sounds foreign and complicated. Remember, this company helps new people just getting started every day. They're going to help you form the entity that's best for you and walk you through the process. Before I found this company, we paid thousands of dollars to other attorneys, CPAs, and consultants to try to understand exactly how we need to be structured to be as protected as possible. We've also gone the other route and used online platforms to form entities which unnecessarily put us at risk. You guys, you don't have to do that with this company. They'll do all of these things for you at a reasonable price, so you never have to think about saving money at the expense of exposing yourself to liability. We've searched high and low, and you will not find this much value anywhere else. All you have to do is schedule a free call today. Just go to primecorporateservices.info/GITCG. Once again, that's primecorporateservices.info/GITCG. We'll also leave the info for you in the show notes.
But I found something, and I'm not into drugs, but I found something that like I've been missing in my life, because it actually, you read the studies, it makes you happier. So I went on a quest to study caffeine and coffee, and I said, I'm gonna sell this drug, because there's only a few drugs you can sell legally. You can sell marijuana now. I don't do pot. You can sell caffeine, it's unregulated. Coca-Cola, it's one of those.
Alcohol or whatever.
Yeah, alcohol, yeah. So there's very few drugs that you can sell without a lot of regulation. So I'm like, I want to sell caffeine in the form of coffee. So, but I set off to name it, because like, I know what I want to do, but I needed a name. And I used my creative director, that Paul Keller Halls, that we've done another bunch of brands with. And we would lock ourselves in a hotel room over a weekend. I'd fly out to California, meet with them to try to name this for almost 2 years. And I spent a lot of time, money, one-on-one. And I was stumped till we were driving. Some friends of ours in Dallas just got a new Tesla, which is an energy vehicle. And they wanted to take Jeff and Courtney out on a double date. And Courtney reaches in the back and pulls out this book. It was called Champagne Supernovas. It's about like the supermodels like Kate Moss and Giselle that break out in the New York fashion scene and become these global supernova icons. And everyone
Is that an Oasis song too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just like, okay.
So they said, someone in the car, it was Courtney. She's like, that would be a great name for your new project. I'm like, Supernova? So what do? I go to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office in the back of the car. Everyone's saying, yeah, it's a great name, Supernova. I'm like, it's a galactic explosion of energy. And sure enough, the big companies own the great names.
Yeah.
PepsiCo, through Mountain Dew, had a Mountain Dew Supernova. And I'm like, damn it. You can never find a great name. Same story I can tell about Genghis Grill and Which Wich. The great names take a little bit of work. So I'm like, it's so good of a name, I'm going to explore it a little bit more. So a couple weeks later, I fly up and meet with the president of Pepsi. We were talking business, and it was a great meeting, because they own Frito-Lay, Pepsi, but there was more to the business, because I knew they owned the name Supernova. And I said, I'd like to have that name one day. They're like, we're a Fortune 500 company. We don't give up our intellectual property. But sure enough, they did. A couple weeks later, I convinced them. I'm like, you're really not using it. You're using it in some countries. I'm like, it's like, and they said, go register all the trademarks, and we did, and now Supernova is ours. And I think it's one of the best names that I've ever come up with that doesn't have alliteration. But it energizes you. It says what it is, and we're just getting started with what we're going to do with this company.
That's such a cool
Well,
story.
that's why, because like you said in the beginning, we were talking about how you reached out. Sometimes you have to go after something. Like most people would just literally just give up right there.
Most people would not work
Like-
on a name for 2 years in order to just start a business. So that just goes to show. I think one of the things you keep saying here that I'm taking from this is your curiosity.
Oh.
Like, that is the driving force for you with everything that you do. And you don't, just because you're feeling like you're hitting a dead end, you just kind of keep finding new paths until you find the one, like the needle in the haystack.
I love the dead end, because if you break through at the other side, there's amazement. And a lot of people stop because they start dead end, that's not working, or it's tough to hire people. Like, you know what? just keep playing the game. You're not going to win every day, but when you win, it becomes that much more interesting because you played the game hard, and then you just you just keep going forward.
And one of the things I've been learning and thinking about a lot recently is that a lot of us look at failure as failure, right? Like, I'm going to quit this thing. It just doesn't work. But it's usually a sign that you're on the right path because you're meeting some resistance, and only the few get through. And it's like, okay, it's almost like a test of your, I don't know, endurance or something.
Yeah. I think we're trying to get on the right track here. Failure isn't a bad thing. It's really sometimes the tuition you pay or the work that you do to get to winning. And you don't win, like I said, you don't win every day, but it's part of the game. Like the home run hitters, they don't hit home runs every time. You're going to crash your car sometimes. It's not a bad thing. Hopefully, you don't get injured, but it's like, maybe it's a time to slow down and take a different path. So I just look at it as like, it's okay. And if you get there, and, one of the things I found is that when people start rolling their eyes at what you're doing, I think you're on the right track. Yeah. And my wife, Courtney, rolls her eyes more than anyone I know. And I'm like, I love it. I love it.
That's
it's
awesome.
Like, we're playing a little bit of real estate in Dallas, and I bought a property, or I'm in the process of buying a property. And she's like, you haven't even seen it yet. I'm like, I know. But I know where it is. I know the area. I know we have a piece of property next to it. I'm playing a little bit of Monopoly. And then the real estate broker calls me and she's like, Jeff, do you want to go for an inspection? And I said, no, why? Someone's just going to tell me reasons why not to buy it? Yeah. It's like, it's priced fair. And by the way, if I drag my feet, I might lose the opportunity. And that I learned in India. We went to India and we were looking at real estate for Which Wich, and also like in Vietnam and some of the countries that are real mobile with mopeds and everything. You go in and look for a lease space. You have an appointment. Say your appointment's at 11 o'clock. If you don't say yes on the spot, at 11:05 or 11:15, there's someone else right behind you that'll do the deal. You have to make the decision. And a lot of people get paralysis by analysis. Mm-hmm. Like, if look, I know that area. Anything that's going to pop up in that area, I'm interested in buying. The decision's already been made. Yeah. It's more strategic now. So, look, there's going to be reasons not to do it. There's going to be eye rolls. But you know what? It's part of the game. You'll figure it out. And I'm curious about figuring it out. So, did I get an inspection? Is my wife rolling her eyes? Is this a dumb deal? No, it's a smart deal, and it's going to play out, I believe, the right way.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I've learned about making decisions, because even when we used to have a property management business, we managed like 1,500 units here in San Diego, and people would always
incredible.
say,
I'm like, I want to ask you about that.
It's
like
such a grind. But one of the things people would always say to us is, because we started doing all the rehabs for our clients, we renovate properties inside and out. They were just like, whatever, just tell me what check. They knew that we did a good job. And they'd be like, how do you make these decisions? I just go into Home Depot or wherever. I'm like, this. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things that I tell people, if you get so caught up in making the right decision, you're actually prolonging your learning experience, because you're not very good at making quick decisions in the beginning, obviously. You haven't made them before. You haven't done it. But as you make more quick decisions, you get better at making quick decisions. But the people who sit around and think about it, like we have a family member who's like that. It's always the joke, right? He always says, oh, I'm thinking about starting this business, or I'm going to buy this house. I'm like, sure you are. Like, maybe 10 years from now, when the trend is gone and the opportunity's passed, you'll finally decide to move on it. It's like, you take so long to make a decision that you're out of practice. Like, it's taking so long to reach the same place that we are, because I can just go like this.
Yeah, you have that muscle that you developed.
Yes.
But there's a lot of people, though, that, look, everyone's different. You got to appreciate that about people. Like, I've sat down with some would-be entrepreneurs with the best idea. They're asking me for advice, or what do you think? I'm like, I think you have a $1 billion idea. And there's going to be two things that are going to be happening. 10 years from now, we're still talking about it, or we're on your boat because you killed it.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And you know what? Most of them are still talking about it.
Yeah.
Because there's those that do and those that talk. I want to be around the doers versus the talkers, because the talkers never get anything done. They're like, look, not everyone's a doer. So, but, it's just...
Because the doing part is not fun in the beginning.
I disagree.
No, I
it's
think
like,
for them.
Yeah.
I think it's...
I think it's scary.
Yeah.
It's fear, right? You don't want to
Right.
lose all your money. You don't want to
What
put
if
yourself in a bad spot.
What if that goes wrong? What if, like...
They don't want to be in your position with Genghis Grill, right? Like, that is their absolute nightmare, to wake up to that.
Yeah.
And so they just never take a chance, because it's too scary of a thought to be in that place. Like, they don't think they could survive that spot.
Yeah, we have choices, and I know people that my hometown of Brighton, Michigan, that haven't left like a 5-mile circle of their house. And I think that's a tragedy. But for them, you know, maybe that's the way they want to live their life. That's their choice. But we have choices, and I can't convince my wife to move. I'd like to move every 5 years to a different city because I think it trains your mind to get lost in the city and keeps it fresh. Because like we've been in Dallas over 20 years. Sometimes I'm just driving automatically and I get home.
Oh, you
I don't
see
have
that
to
place,
think.
bro.
I'm in San Diego in the summertime. I get lost and I'm like, well, that's interesting. I see things that I don't see because I'm not conditioned to be programmed. And I think if you break out of your programming, you can have an exponential life. So
Sounds fun.
it's
I'd be into moving
curiosity.
every 5 years. That sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
Can you convince my wife Courtney? And she's like, but she was conditioned by her parents that
Yeah.
live, you know, basically in the same house. They've been in there for 30, 40 years. I'm like,
Yeah.
that seems like a penitentiary. You know, it's like, like you got.
You know what's
so true.
interesting is I think a lot of us get into that cycle because I learned so much through our kids. It's crazy. So one of the things is somebody was talking to me the other day and it's like, oh, you know, you want to keep the routine because kids need a routine, they need change. And I said, I don't think they need it. I think we need it. Like, they're cool with change. They're like,
Yeah.
what's this cool, exciting thing? And the same thing, even we were playing games with my oldest. She's almost 5, and we just started playing. She's getting into board games right now. But the problem is she gets really pissed every time she loses. And so we're having these conversations like, Harlow, you can't win every time. That's no fun. If you win every time, it's no fun. And
Which one does she take after of getting pissed?
it's all, she starts screaming, throwing the board pieces all over the place.
Probably me more.
She's competitive. I have
She's
my
competitive.
daughter Sky's like that. She would throw, walk out, tantrums. She just wanted to win. So I think you're seeing the competitive nature, but
But it also is a learning experience because it's like a mirror for me
Yeah.
to go, okay, this is how I am sometimes. Like sometimes I just quit because I'm like, oh, I hit one dead end and what am I thinking? Like I didn't do this when I was younger.
Yeah.
I'm now getting stuck in my past, my old ways, where I want everything to be familiar. And through my kids, I can see this is not the way.
yeah,
you know,
like
so
if you look, and we have children, we're talking about children. They fall, they get right back up. We fall like, oh, that hurt. You know, we become scared. We're not going to do that. But it's like I love having children because our children are board members in our company, whether they know it or not. And I like to have generational board members. And you have single-digit kids. Both my kids are in the double digits. So I have the ones, and now in our company, we like to have people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and maybe a 70 or plus, because now you have generational perspective on how you view life. And by looking at these kids that they're okay with the risk and, you know, the competitive nature, where now you become conditioned and set in your ways. And then you listen to the wise guy over here that, oh, be careful because there's a cycle coming. So, you know, whether it's the kids and the learning, the board games, like this is all a game. Your podcast is called Cash Flow Game, right?
You get a cash flow game, yeah.
It's a game, right?
Yeah, it is. There's a board game called, you know, cash flow game.
It's called-
yeah,
yeah.
Robert Kiyosaki came up with. You play with your kids.
We
on
got
it.
that
It's
for
Monopoly.
kids, but it's not.
Basically, Monopoly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I like to play games that you have fun at and you have the opportunity to win. But if you don't win, you learn and you get to see someone. You know, my wife will not play Monopoly with me, okay? Because we were playing Family Monopoly and I questioned my daughter's deal with teaming up with my wife. You know, it was like, and I was playing like the family card and any card I could play because I wanted to win the game. And she swears to this day she will never play Monopoly with me again. And I'm like, I think that's a tragedy because it was so much fun for me.
Yeah, there's a lot of competitiveness in card games and stuff with my family. A lot. It's very intense.
The Simpson family. He has a brother and a sister.
It's
and
very, very intense.
they like to play spades. So anytime we go on vacation and we're hanging out, it's always spades. And I can guarantee you, it always ends with Kenny's sister cussing everyone out and walking out of the room.
Somebody is a sore loser. They don't want to lose. It's so
Taking
funny.
a taxi home. She's done. Like, I mean, it's a whole thing. She'll like leave her whole family and leave.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
You know, at least there's emotion about
passion
it.
in it.
Yeah. Like, would you rather play a game where everyone's just like bored?
Yeah, no.
No, I love this. Like passion and emotion.
Yeah. Oh,
that's what makes it real.
Yeah, we were talking about, I was just going to bring this up. We were talking about this the other day. We got invited by a friend to a Grant Cardone 10X thing, right? It's at all these speakers, and I even told this to Grant, I go, hey, there was one moment that was my favorite moment. He goes, what it is? He goes, when your daughter spoke. He's like, what? I said, yeah, your daughter said something that moved. This is when he had in the Miami Stadium like 25,000 people. So she got up there, she had her speech, and she ends her speech, and I don't know if you know exactly what she said, but it was something like, so I'm 8 years old, I go to school and I learn every day. And I asked my dad, I'm kind of confused, like when you're done with school, why do people stop learning?
Yeah,
And
why do
then
we have to learn, but you don't have to?
And the whole room just went quiet. I just went, And everybody's staring at her, and she goes, so what I encourage everybody is, I'm going to keep going to school and learning. Why don't you guys just keep learning? Why are you stopping learning? And I mean, we're talking about like this is, I think, it's a lot of people in this generation, this world, they get out of college and they don't learn anything anymore. They go to their job, they go this, and like, that is it.
Yeah.
It's just, and I think like people like us, and I know you, and especially us, like she knows me, I leap out of bed at 3. I'm like excited. What am I going to learn today? Who am I going to be? Like, even today, like the fact that I get to sit here and talk to you, it's like, that's what I said to Cody Sanchez. She's like, yeah, I don't even talk to my friends for an hour. And I said, how's this that you gave me an hour and we just met? She goes, interesting, because I would have you on a podcast, but you wouldn't give me an hour if I was your friend, because you're just like, go to my YouTube and there's all the stuff you want to learn. Because I went in an hour, I can't tell you about business, but all the 10 hours, the 20 hours, I can tell you. So it's just fascinating.
Yeah. I think life's fascinating. Like, because we met once. I referenced we should all get together for like a dinner or something, and now we've got, business partners. We should become friends here in San Diego. Yeah. And spend, the tragedy could be, this may be the only time we spend in the next 3 years right here. And I don't think that's what I want.
Yeah.
You guys are in stereo, yeah. So you want to be friends with me?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Oh, wow. Now I get teary. I got more friends.
I was telling her the other night, that was funny. I was telling her that you you're at this place we want to go to in La Jolla, where they have this sit-down dinner and the magic show. I saw Billy.
We went there with
Billy.
Yes,
Billy Shaw the other day.
How was that? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was like, because we saw it, we're like, we should do that.
Was that fun?
It was okay.
It's just like an experience. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like like I'd do it again. I'd do it with you guys.
Yeah.
And Cody, right? Let's get her and her husband and the Sinellis and bring the kids to. Let's we could do. I think they only seat like 20 people. Let's get 20 people and have a nice, fun, mutual San Diego event.
Together.
We just put that out there in the universe.
Yeah.
So am I going to be the one that carries the whole load to do it? But I said I wanted to meet Cody. So can you guys introduce me to her, and maybe we'll have this dinner? And because it would be like pretty sad that this is the only time we spend together.
Yeah.
Especially like, because we have daughters. I offered babysitting next year from our daughters to your daughters. Because, just like you mentioned, Grant, we have the opportunity to develop the people around us, not only our children, but our team members. My daughters hanging with your daughters will mutual benefit both ways. They'll see responsibility because they don't want them to get hurt because they got to report back to us. And then they're going to see things. They're going to, see commerce. Maybe they're going to go get ice cream together. And, just there's so much learning, because like you never stop learning. And I think that's what Grant does. That's what my father did. He brought me to work with him, and I get to see, not like I went to my dad's law office and I pull up in these law books. I'm like, this seems complicated. But I think I realized this is something I really don't want to do. So I married an attorney, and I have a bunch of attorneys around me because I couldn't get into law school, as we talked about. But
can you imagine how different your life would be if you had become an attorney?
Yeah, I told my wife yesterday, I'm like, I think I want to go to med school. And she's like, there's the eye rolls. Yeah. But it's like, that would be interesting to become a doctor, because you can't say you're a doctor unless you actually.
And you're legitimately very curious about health.
Oh my gosh, I could fix a lot of people.
Yeah. I'm
trying to with Supernova, but I don't want to be like, I know coffee works. I know you need water. Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about Supernova, because I know you're super passionate about this, because this is like the lifestyle, business and lifestyle going hand in hand, I feel like. Yeah.
So if you're going to drink coffee, I set out to find, once I started drinking coffee, I started experimenting with it. And then I found this company called Bulletproof that does.
Love Bulletproof.
Dave Asprey was doing like a clean coffee, and I saw that was real interesting. And he starts putting fats in there. I'm like, this is interesting. So I actually I was at a dinner one night with his coffee guru, and we're talking, and I'm like, I'm gonna go in the coffee business. And she's like, better be careful. I'm like, why? Beans are cheap. She goes, it's not the beans, it's the dairy that's expensive. I'm like, so now there's another layer of Supernova, because there's different dairies out there. There's like cows that produce a protein called A2 and cows that produce A1. And A2, some people can tolerate because it's more closer to the human protein that we as humans have. So there's a little science behind this, but I hired her name. Her name was Dawn Pinot. Not only did she do Bulletproof's coffee, but she also made the first cup of coffee for Howard Schultz at Starbucks.
Wow.
And really is one of the key people that was responsible for growing Starbucks at the early age. So I moved her to Dallas, and I said, make me one blend. Okay, because I didn't want a single origin, because that can change and become seasonal. I wanted a blend that aggregately would hold up in dairy, because most people put dairy or a sweetener in their coffee. I wanted a flavor to carry through whatever people are going to bastardize their coffee with. By the way, I drink just espresso and black coffee.
I bastardize my coffee.
That's okay. I mean, like, everyone's...
I'm going to start using that.
I don't know what the hell that means. I was like, what? I don't even do that.
You be you. But I wanted it to hold up. I wanted it to have, a caffeine quotient that was legit, and I wanted it to be clean, and I wanted it, ethically sourced and, fair. I wanted all the best of the best, but I only wanted one. She's like, well, what about a light roast, a medium roast, a dark roast? I'm like, does it matter when you start putting in the bastardization of coffee, of milks and sweeteners and caramels? No, it turns into like a brown water, but I wanted the brown water to be the best. So it took her, a couple years. And when we landed on it, we called it, because there was like a 15% ratio. And I'm like, this stuff's clean. We called it Clean 15. And it's amazing. And the people that drink it, order it. It's just online right now. We were set right before COVID to build a, flagship store, which now we're, now contemplating. But I think it's great. It holds up and it gives you energy. I've had a double espresso today and it works.
I mean, you're picky about your coffee.
I'm going to have to get
because you have to hear feedback would be real because Crystal's.
What do you drink right now?
We just have an espresso. He acts like I'm such a coffee connoisseur, which I'm not, but I do like a good coffee. If he tries to drop me off at Pete's, I'm like, do not even think about it.
But what is your coffee brand?
I just do Nespresso.
Okay, so Nespresso is it's more the format, but the brand. Get on the Supernova, start mainlining Supernova. Your life will change. Because what's behind the brand is a superior product of sourcing, of not only branding. You're going to feel better by the name. You're going to have more energy. People drink coffee for either energy, flavor, or ritual. You probably drink your coffee at the same time. Yeah. And I drink it for all three. At first, I didn't like it. But now I'm like, this is good.
I love the taste of coffee.
I'll have some black espresso, like from different coffee shops. I'm like, I don't want to drink anyone else's coffee when you have the best. So we're really focused on ingredients that are clean, that can make you feel better. And last year I went on a journey of just what is the one thing that the number one thing we need as humans is air, followed by water or sleep. We can debate that, but then you need food because you can go, a couple minutes without air, days without sleep or water, and you can go a longer time without food. But what is the food that you want to eat? And I was a vegan vegetarian for 5 years. I've been yo-yoing with different foods. I came to the conclusion through research and curiosity that if I just ate meat, a carnivore diet, that would be the one thing that I could sustain on. When I started doing that, I had more energy. I felt better sleep, everything. But I said it's too extreme just to eat meat. So, but I went off and I developed, how can I bring meat with me all the time? So we created this protein chip that has just 2 ingredients, meat and salt. And it's the best grass-fed meat, pasture-raised chicken.
I will be your consumer.
It eats like a potato chip. And it's just, they're hard to make.
Yeah.
They're expensive. But you know what? If you want to put the best fuel in your body, come to Supernova.
Well, this is the thing for me. So I need things that are easy. It's very easy for me to just work a whole day and then realize that I haven't eaten anything.
Yeah.
That's me in a nutshell. But then I also want to be healthy. And I realize that when I put protein first in my diet, so every single time I'm hungry and I need to eat something, if I eat something protein first, I'm going to gain muscle and I'm going to have more energy and all of that stuff. But then I'm also not going to crave a lot of the other crap that we eat, the carbs and the sugars and all those things. So that's what we do now. It's like I have the protein bars, I have the protein shakes, and I have some protein chips that I like to eat here and there. So I love that because for me, it's like you said, on the road, I'm hungry. Grab the protein chips. Grab the bar.
Because there's nothing like this if you're driving and pull over. It's just garbage.
And you cannot eat enough protein. Most of us cannot eat enough protein on a daily basis. So there is no way that I'm going to eat enough steak or fish or any kind of protein source just myself. So I have to supplement with chips, with shakes, with bars in order for me to hit my goal.
You could, the reason why we put it in a 5-ounce bag, and we also have, 1-ounce samples, is this is a pound of protein that gets reduced through, dehydration and desiccation to 5 ounces. That's a 1 pound. It's 1 pound of protein. I mean, and you can put a little dab of barbecue sauce on it. You can dip them in guac. I mean, it eats like it. Forget about putting in zero bad food like potato chips. This product's amazing. So, but I don't say it because it's the product that we created. We created it for a reason. For your putting protein first, or more energy, for hydration. So we're just we've been working on our bar for 2 years. It just hasn't been right yet.
Yeah.
So wait for the Supernova bars. They're coming. We do have a Supernova sea salt, which is microplastic free. But these products will they're going to be I believe like within a year when we have the rest of, by the way, we own an ice cream company. So we're working on a Supernova ice cream. So I can start in the morning with coffee and end with ice cream. And maybe, we can be like champagne Supernova and drink some. We actually developed a Supernova champagne because Supernova is for people that want to perform better, whether it's an athlete, a business, a mom. And I like to say, find your prefix, because instead of entrepreneur, take out entre.
I love this.
What is your prefix? Because if you can find what you are in one word or a combination word, that can be your ethos of your own brand. I chose superpreneur because I love to have a lot of things going. I feel like I can fly and have a cape and, solve the world's problems of entrepreneurship. So superpreneur is my word. I would encourage you guys both, we don't have to do it right now, is to find your prefix. And it's a supernova exercise. Like you can be a mompreneur, you can be a tennispreneur, you can be a real estatePreneur, you can be a whatever preneur you are. I believe if you live that lifestyle, you'll have a better life.
I love that.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
So what's next, Jeff?
Well, we're going to have dinner at the Magic Theater. Our kids are going to babysit your kids, and we're going to be friends. But other than that, let's do like a business deal too, just like, because I'm hungry for partners, and looks like you have a little bit more real estate expertise than I do. Maybe I have some branding expertise. How can we hybrid this to play a game and have some fun, so that we're not throwing board games, and we actually have rules that we're going to be civil. Not like your family. It sounds a little dysfunctional. But look, at the end of the day, you have a choice to have fun and meet people, and I'm just happy that we spent some time together.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. So
thanks for the invite, because you invited me, and I've got a rule that I instituted a long time ago: follow the invite. Because
I told you I'd reach out when you're here, and I knew you're here. I was like, I'm just going to reach out. And
because if you don't follow it, you're not going to get to the party or the function, and you're not going to know where that's going to go, because you're going to meet people at that place. So
where's a good place for people to find you, learn more about you? Or I know you have a podcast too, right?
Yeah, it's called Obsessed. We're dabbling around in it, and we're trying to find out. I've got so many different businesses I really want to put out there. A lot of it's to help entrepreneurs, which I'm passionate about, because I am one. My father was one. It's in me, and it's easy for me to talk about that game. Branding is one, but I've written a couple books that haven't been published yet, or they're in draft. I'm like, what's gonna be, because they're all little businesses and we have a choice of where we spend time. I think I'm gonna spend a lot of time on Supernova. We've got a big responsibility with Which Wich. I'm playing around in real estate, so, and having more friends and more fun.
So we always ask everybody a final question.
Okay.
So here we go. I'd like to see his answer. What's your definition of generational wealth?
Well, first of all, to create generational wealth, you can't F it up, okay? When we travel, I didn't really travel till I met Courtney, like to Europe and everything. You see what generational wealth can do, not only royalty, but like taxation of the government and everything. But the people that have generational wealth pass it to the next generation. And usually there's stability there of values, of family values that now teach the next generation. It's not just the money, it's the values. And then if you keep the values and longevity, maybe there's some assets that get transferred along the way. But generational wealth is more than just, money. It's that values and, your family name, your things going forward. But if you do it right, you can set the future up to have values and do good things and continue. So I'm looking forward. I'm 20 years into my relationship with Courtney. We have 2 kids. We're planning their success based on ours. And I don't know what's going to happen, but, when I do something now, I kind of look at, I'm not doing it just for me. I'm doing it for, the other stomachs in the house too. So I think you have to have generational wealth if you want it. A lot of people like screw that, it's like, but I think you want to leave a legacy of making, there's this poem that's on my wall that my dad gave to me as a graduation card, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it's called Success. And I should probably memorize it, but you just want to leave the world a little bit better, whether it's by a healthy plan, a child, and that's all I want to do is just leave it better than when I found it. And my mom always said, if you leave a place better than when you found it, you'll get invited back. She also said, carry gum because you'll have friends. I don't really, so.
That must be why Kenny has gum all the time.
Yeah. But I don't know if I answered it, but I think generational wealth, if you want it, you have to kind of be looking forward and not do the things that are going to mess it up.
Yeah.
I agree, and I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, it was fun. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for,
this is really fun.
We just talk for a little,
You have such a unique perspective on life, and I love your curiosity and everything.
I told Crystal you're going to, I know she'd, would love you. So, yeah, it was good. you know.
Well,
That's why you make it look easy, because you're just curious.
I don't know if it's hard. Like,
You just make it look really easy because you're curious and you're like, I'm doing
Like
things
to
that
do
I'm
this
curious
is
about.
like, this is
Yeah.
not easy. Like, yeah, there's no way it's easy, but yeah, you're making it look easy. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
yeah, there's thousands of hours. Like we mentioned, the naming and everything. It's like as you get older, it seems like it takes longer. You know, when you're in your 20s, like boom. Like when I was in my 20s, I was doing nightclubs. Every time I had $50,000 or $100,000, I'd find a vacant building, come up with a name, and put a stereo system and a bartender, and we'd have another nightclub. Now it's a lot more than that. But
Well, remember that movie we watched about Steve Jobs, the Apple movie or whatever? It was so cool because he had so many different names before he got to that, and they were working in the garage and they were writing it on the wall. It was Steve Jobs, right?
Was
The
it
story of Steve
Amazon?
Jobs. Or maybe it was Amazon, Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
Yes, it was Jeff Bezos, Amazon, and he was like writing the different names on the wall, and it was like all these terrible names before that, and then suddenly Amazon just appeared. I think he like pointed at the dictionary or
Yeah, it's
something.
the same
and
thing
it
with
was
him.
like-
Is nobody gave him the time of day, nothing like forever, and then all of a sudden, boom, like here he is.
So I think it's rare that you wake up and you go, light bulb moment, I found the perfect name on like the first try.
yeah, there's a theory. One of my favorite books is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho,
Love
the
that.
Brazilian.
I read that book. I need to read it again.
Yeah, it's a read. It's like one of the few books that I've read that it was a page turner for me, and I've gifted dozens of them.
Yeah.
But if you want something bad enough, the world conspires to give it to you. It's kind of like my
Yes.
takeaway from the book. Like I want a wellness company right now, not only for my own wellness and longevity, but the people around me. I want them to feel better too, because we're not doing this just for me. I'm doing it because I want other people to feel good too, because you have a choice to feel good or feel bad. I ate at one of the largest fast food chains as research yesterday, and I felt terrible. So, maybe the cows weren't happy, I don't know, or the employees. When a chef makes food and they're happy, it tastes better and there's energy. This is a happy company. The people that are a part of it are all positive, that they want to find betterment and go forward. You don't want to go backwards. So, be around happy people and, you have positive vibes. And again, it's a choice. So you guys seem real happy.
Yeah.
What's your
Spoken
secret
like
to...
a true chief vibe officer.
Yeah, but like, all right. Well, what's your secret to success?
It's funny because we were laughing about someone we know on the show before we started filming, and I think for me, it's always been work really hard. Like that has been my identity. So I'm actually in the process now of shifting my identity to be like, we can have success without feeling like we have to be grinding all the time. So I'm in the process of shifting that, but I think it is about having more fun. And our kids have really taught us that over time, because I can't go home and be stressed out about stuff. I've got to like flip the switch. It's time to flip it on and be mom when I come home every day. So that's really taught us, I think, to bring the joy out in life. And it's taught us to kind of stop and smell the roses more. It's like, I don't need to talk to you about business for 5 hours before we go to bed. That was our whole life. So now I think we've shifted to enjoying our life more. Get outside, move.
It's a tough
exercise.
dynamic to have a relationship and then work in a business together too. Like Courtney and I have tried it, but we're so opposites that I think we're at the realization that, you take care of that side, I'll take care of this side. And then when we meet in the middle, it's our side. So it's
we have our own separate businesses, and that's why it works.
Okay.
So we come together for the podcast.
Well, maybe that's what Courtney and I should do. Come together for our podcast.
We cross-refer each other business, but if we were working together, like this would not work. So
Maybe. Okay.
we're in the same office, but we have our own thing. So I don't tell Kenny what to do. He doesn't tell me what to do. We kind of run our own ship. So that would be my advice if you want to work with your wife, is just give her something that's hers and you have what's yours. And then you guys can come together in different ways.
She's going off. She's starting a jewelry company that she's passionate about, like literally staying up at night, researching everything, working. And I think she's on the right track now, because when you're taking when the kids are sleeping and you're taking your time when you could be sleeping and you want something bad enough, I think she's going to do really well with it, because the clues are there of how she's going about it. She's curious and she's passionate about it. And those are the things I look for. I'm like, I'm just watching her from afar. I want to stick my nose in. It's like, but I'm also smart enough to like, you do you.
Give her her space,
Yeah.
We didn't graduate college. We didn't meet at college, but none of us finished. I just was like, this isn't for me, move on. And I think for me, it's just, I can definitely outwork most. But I think now it's just getting around, like you said, is I learned from the mastermind before. I was part of the Avenger mastermind, which is a part of 100 Mil. That one, Joel Mayer and Dan Fleischman. And I started getting around a lot of entrepreneurs and talking to them. And I realized it's your team. getting good core people on your team. So when you are away from the mothership, it's not falling apart. Yeah, Kent Clothier would always come on stage and say, hey, if you left your business for a month, I bet you'd all go to hell in a handbasket. And I was like, oh, like, that's not good. And he's like speaking to people. He goes, that's not a business, that's a job.
Yeah.
And so I think just like figuring out what works. And also for me, for my success is I get up at 3. Everybody's like, why? I'm like, because I need my time. I know when I go home at night, I'm with the girls and I'm exhausted. So I'm not going to get any quality time for me. So I get up and it's like from 3 till when you guys get up 6:30, I get 3.5 hours every day. Yeah. So I can do what I want. If I want to read, research,
it's lunchtime for Kenny by like 9 a.m.
Yeah.
There's a few people I've met that wake up that early. That's early.
Yeah.
That's before the rhythms of the earth, the sun rises, and
it's quiet.
So I don't know if you've heard of Joe Dispenza. He's like a big meditation guy. He's working with a lot of like scientists at UCSD and stuff. And I went to one of his like meditation retreats. It's a 7-day. It's really cool, by the way. If you're into all this stuff, it's like life changing.
I've tried meditating and I instantly fall asleep.
So he says that's kind of right because you want. What your goal is for your body to be asleep while your mind is awake. So this is like that. So anyways, what he says is that the hours between 3 and 4 a.m. is when your mind is the most suggestible to new information. So I think it's interesting because Kenny gets up at 3 and a lot of times he'll do creative stuff. So if he's creating content or like his blog or, whatever he's doing, he creates at those hours. And I think it's because your brain is just a little like groggy and like, but it can think and it can get creative and you're not thinking about, well, that's risky or like I can't do that or you don't have those boundaries at that hour. I still don't get it.
Because your body's a little bit, your mind's awake, but your body's still a little waking up, And
he says that's the best time for meditation. That's why Joe Dispenza will say meditate. The one day while you're there during that 7 days, you have to be in the room by 4 a.m. and they close the doors. And
Crystal did it 7 days.
A 4.5 hour meditation that day. It's crazy.
And if you know a guy, Ed Milet, you've heard Ed Milet. Yeah. He's been on his podcast 3 times, which is one of the rare. So that's why. You just got to go hear a story and then research. You'll be like, okay, because he is. At first, I was like, okay, but he is like kind of the real deal.
My birthday wish to Kenny is for him to go to a week long with me next year.
So she went.
Because he's like, I don't think I could do 7 days. I'm
so
like,
that was Crystal.
For my birthday, maybe
she's turning 40 this year, and I go, what do you want? And she stole this from
Sarah Blakely.
Yeah. Sarah Blakely's like, I'm leaving for 5 days by myself. She goes, I want to go for 7. I said, go ahead. So she went 7 days by herself and just got to go do whatever you want to do. That's what I said. Even if you're not in meditation, I said, just to go spend 7 days by yourself and really focus on yourself. Could you imagine?
Like you said, how many people think anymore?
You're thinking.
Yeah, you mentioned Sarah Blakely and her husband, Jesse. I'm signed up in 2 weeks to go do an Everesting, the 29029. And I've trained 1 day. And I'm like, this is not the right way to do this, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Jesse was just at Neil's thing.
You're going to Everest?
No, it's you climb to the height of Everest. So they use ski villages around the country, and you climb up
and down,
and you gondola down, climb up, gondola down. Cool. I think it's 13 times up and down, and you have 36 hours to do it. So mentally, I'm already done it. I've done it, but it's like I just don't want to hurt myself.
I will tell you, I know people that did it, and they were not really that prepared, and I think because you're around people and stuff, they made it through. But they're like, it definitely pushes you beyond limits.
Yeah, I ran a marathon once. My buddy called me up, and it was 30 days away, and we did it, and we had good times. So I think what the mind can conceive, the body can achieve. Mentally, I've already done the challenge, but I know my body at its age is gonna need a lot of supernova therapy. All right, let's bring it in.
Awesome.
All right.
What's our final word? Let's bring it in again. Generation wealth. All right.
If you're already a real estate investor, you know that aside from cash flow, you also get huge tax benefits by investing in real estate. But are you taking full advantage of all the potential tax benefits? We've been working with Tim Looney at CSSI for a few years now, and he's saved us and our clients hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in taxes doing cost segregation studies on their properties. Let me give you a few examples. We bought a property in 2019. If we had just used straight line depreciation, we would have saved about $18,750 in taxes. But because we did a cost seg, we saved $258,000. That's $239,350 more than standard straight line depreciation in the first year. The other great thing is, if you're classified as a real estate professional, you can apply this to other sources of income like W-2 or 1099 income, and you can also roll over any unused depreciation to future years. If you've owned your properties for a few years already, don't worry, you can still do a cost seg and save big on your taxes. This is not tax advice, so consult your CPA to see if you qualify to take advantage of these benefits. Call or text Tim at 318-469-9861 to get your complimentary property analysis. Once again, that's 318-469-9861. And I'll also include his information in the show notes. You guys don't want to miss out on these tax savings.